5 minutes past 8. Well, Deborra Furness is a successful actor, producer, director. She's also married to Hollywood heartthrob Hugh Jackman. So life sounds pretty perfect, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But what you don't see is the struggle they face to have their own children. Have a look. Deborra Furness is one of Australia's finest actresses.
What are you up to now, Kaylin Calandria? How long have you been out here?
And the handsome and charismatic Hugh Jackman is one of Hollywood's best.
Mr. Drover, there's only one tent.
We're not really used to
a woman.
Guests. We're not used to guests, that's what I was about to say.
Their fairy tale romance all started on the set of the TV drama Corelli. He played a prisoner who fell in love with his psychologist, played by Deborra Lee. The chemistry was obvious and wasn't just for the cameras. Hugh and Deborra Lee became a couple off-screen as well.
I see the warmth behind that tight little smile.
A year later, they married. Then they wanted to start their own family. After several miscarriages, they decided to adopt. It was difficult and it took time, but it was worth the wait. Deborra Lee and Hugh are now the proud parents of Oscar and Ava.
Well, now Deborra Lee is trying to improve adoption laws in Australia. She joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Well, it's great to have you back on one hand, but
What's the other hand?
Well, we seem to be talking about the same thing a year later with the problems you face. Has anything changed?
Yes.
Good.
I'm happy to say, well, things
Great.
are changing. There have been a few shifts within government. We have a peak body, which has been established. They've changed a few of the laws, one of them being the you weren't allowed to be on the IVF before, and now you can be on IVF and go after adoption. And I think a friend of mine has just gone through the process for the second time and said she feels the attitude will change. So there are changes. It is moving.
Great.
But obviously I'm going to keep talking, and we're all going to keep talking until, you know, everything's up to par. With anything.
And we love you for doing it because it's a great issue.
But with anything, if you don't keep putting energy in, it doesn't shift, it doesn't move. And we're very excited because now we have the first ever Adoption Awareness Week, which happens November 17th. So this is the first time ever for Australia. And I think adoption has never really had a forum. And I guarantee you guys even that you know someone's adopted, wants to adopt. So many people have walked this path in Australia. And this is what I've realised since we started speaking about this. There hasn't been a forum for it. It hasn't been addressed. The issues, it's a very complex and emotional issue, and it's never been addressed. And a lot of adult adoptees have contacted us and said their piece. And I want to see Australia step up and have services in place for pre- and post-adoption services to support these people.
And why is it so much easier for people to go overseas and adopt?
It's
than
not.
Do it
you
here?
can't go overseas and adopt it from Australia. It has to be through the Australian government.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy process. And this is another thing that hopefully by talking about it, because so many people say to me, I would have adopted, it was too hard, you know, it takes too long. And people don't know about it. It's not accessible. So I want the government to step up and have it accessible, to have, you know, information out there. I know one woman, even to go to the first meeting, because you have to attend a meeting before you can start the process. To go to the first meeting, she's on a wait list for 2 years before there even is a meeting. It's not good enough. And I talk about this, where I come from, my address is from a point of there are abandoned children in the world. It's not about people getting kids, it's about families for children. This is what my whole driving force was from the beginning is I see these kids out there in the world. There's over 100 million orphans. And I hear all these people here say, we'd love to if we could, and the bureaucracy is in the middle.
Okay, all right. You said you've made progress since we last spoke, which is magnificent. Ticked off the IVF thing. What are the sort of next two things you'd like changed, 2 or 3 things, the most important things in the next 12 months?
I'd like to see relationships develop. Australia stepping up and developing relationships with countries that can't come onto the Hague Convention or haven't got the infrastructure. We need to support these countries so that we can have relations with them so we can start the process of helping out.
Because they're off the list at the moment because they don't meet this convention.
They don't meet the standards. And I would like to see the timelines. The timelines are now, the minimum is like 3 years. I've heard of maximum being up to 10 years. It's not acceptable.
Yep.
I'd like my timeline, and, you know, people say, oh, Deborah, but I'd like to see gestation. I'd like to see it done in 9 months.
But is that...
with due diligence and transparent ethical adoption.
Exactly. But is that because they're under-resourced?
Yes.
Or does it
And
mean it just needs to take that long to be sure?
it needs to be a priority. With anything, you think about it, if we put energy into something, you can still do due diligence and take care of business, but you can do it in a better timeline. It hasn't been a priority. I mean, we had the Bronwyn Bishop report that said there was an anti-adoption culture in Australia, and we're trying to shift that and support the people going through it. It is a very feasible way of establishing a family, and there are so many kids out there that need families.
So anyone watching you this morning, either about to start the process or who have just, what would you say to them? Advice?
Go onto our website, the Adoption Awareness Week website. We have so many things on there that can direct you to answer questions, to help support you going through the process. But this is also what Adoption Awareness Week is about, is supporting these kids. There are so many kids all over the world that can't be adopted, and there's a lot of initiatives on the website for young kids. Like, there's a young girl, a Filipino adoptee, who has just gone back to her old school and started an initiative, gone to the school and said, let's support an orphanage in Nepal. So she's starting this, and I'd love to see these splinters all over Australia with the schools facilitating, having the school as one of their projects, not just sort of thinking up some sort of idea of what we can do, actually work with an orphanage and do something. So it's about supporting children.
So schools can get that information from the website if there's a teacher sitting at home saying,
please.
oh, that'd be good for our class or school. It's all their directions.
And there's also initiatives for the teachers how to educate the children about adoption so that kids in the class understand what it is to be adopted. So the better understanding we have, the better it is for everyone.
Love your passion.
Good on you. Exactly right. You're doing amazing work with it. So we'll fly the flag for you, and all the best with Adoption Awareness Week.
Thank you.
Keep us up to date too.
Will do.
And if you'd like more information about Deborra Lee's adoption campaign, head to our website. We'll have all the links there, and then we can head you on over in the right direction.
Coming up on the